Good day, gifted honors English students of the year 2020-2021. This is an onboarding video that I'm making to help you get to know me, to get to know the class, and to get to know where this class is coming from and why it's somewhat different. I hope to speak in this way, maybe even in person if it's even at all possible, to your parents and maybe you on Meet the Teacher Night. But I figured I would start this way because I have plenty of letters I can send you and I have a syllabus that I'll send you and we will be dealing with the syllabus and everything. But this year is so much different, and thinking back over the things that I've done in class that I know have been impactful because I've received letters from students from years past, even from just this past year, 12 years ago, 15 years ago. I've been teaching now for 27 years. I'm entering my 28th. Knowing all this makes no difference in this year. Things are going to be different. And so I've revamped and I've looked at the things that I really want to do. And one of the things I realized is this: I'm really interested in ideas, and I'm really interested in the thoughts that other people have and where they come from and how they help us shape our understanding of the world. All these things interest me. It's why I got into English in the first place. I wanted to be able to see the world through the ideas of other people and to connect with minds in that way. But one thing I've realized this year particularly about teaching is that teaching is about helping other human beings become better. I mean, I've always known that. I've written about that many times. But for this year, what I really want to be able to do is to focus what this class is about on four main questions, which I'm going to go over. But the four main questions are really: who am I? Who are we? What matters to me? And what am I going to do about it? And those are questions that you will always be asking yourself, that I will front and put in front of you in everything we do. And so because of that, I've sort of rethought how I want to go about what we do in class and what my goals are. Sure, I can tell you the goals are to meet the standards because the standards are important and because those standards relate to important knowledge and skills that people should have as they move through the world. But we are human beings, not just human thinkers. The being part is crucial because what it means is that we exist. We are special and we do things. We act. To be in the world is to do something. And that's what I want to focus on this year. So let me show you a little bit about how I'm conceiving philosophically of the class. And then later we'll get into what we're going to do. Because for me, as for Simon Sinek, who is a business consultant and really famous in the business world, but I've been using his ideas for a long time because I think they speak to what we as educators do. And it's this: people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And for me, ever since I first started teaching back in 1993, maybe, ever since then, I have known that the biggest question in the world is the smallest one that you can ask. And that question is why. So let's start with why. Why am I conceiving of the class as I am, and what does that mean for you? So welcome to Gifted Honors English 2020. I suppose you'd call this the COVID-19 edition, unfortunately, but let's see what we can do. Remember, we're organized around four key questions. Who am I? Who are we? What matters to me? And what am I going to do about it? I am an incessant questioner, as you're going to find out. And I think that questions contain that root word quest, which is a journey we go on to try to discover things for ourselves. And this year, we are going to be questing within the realm that we like to refer to as, wait for it, it's coming now, systems. That's right. Those things that human beings create to try to bring organization into our world. Sometimes these systems are created, with a purpose, and that purpose is good, but other times they're not necessarily intentional, they just happen. So we want to discover how are systems created and defined, how do systems shape the world, and we also want to discover what is the role of the individual within systems. And that last one is key because that posits you as an agent of action. And that means that you are responsible within those systems for making them better or for maintaining them or anything like that. Two other questions are philosophically foundational. Why are things the way they are and how can we make them better? That first question posits you as an inquirer, somebody who's in charge of asking questions. And the second question makes you an agent of action. So really, that first question is sort of like what we would always ask from you in school. We're asking you to explore and discover knowledge and to learn how the world works and why it works in the way that it does. The second question is a lot more powerful. How can we make things, the world, better? Because now what we're telling you is that you're not just about sitting in a seat and getting information. You are empowered, you have the power, and I am offering you the space and the time to make the world a better place. There are lots of ways that we'll do this, but the key verb there, the verb itself, right, is make. Human beings who make things, human beings who learn by making, whether that's writing or something else, that's key to this class. And I'm going to jump to another video now to sort of show you why I'm going about talking about class in the way I am this year. So one of the things that I've always respected in my class is community. Community has the same root as the word communication, and English is all about communication. I've received many letters from students I've had in the past who talk about the strength of the community that we create in Gifted Honors English. And so that's really what's at the center of what I want to get to in at least this first month. But this maps out the entire year, growing the Gifted Honors English community. What does that mean? And what am I after? Well, really, speakers and listeners, readers, writers, and creators. Notice, I'm not telling you what you're going to be doing. I'm telling you that these are the people. These are the personas I want you to try on. You're not going to be able to get to all of these things, and you're not going to become all of these things, but you will try them on. And the thing that is different about this than me telling you in a syllabus what you're going to be studying is that here what I'm after is teaching human beings, right? And I've talked about this before in the previous part of this video, that we are all human beings in the becoming. We are not ever a static, this is me, I will never change. We are constantly in process. And so education is really about nurturing that process. And for me, that means nurturing the aspect of being. And what can you be? Well, you don't know unless you try them on. So here are the kinds of things I'm going to ask you to sort of like play at or to at least try on. As far as speakers and listeners go, brave orators, civil discussers, disciplined dialoguers, creative chatters, active attenders, and lively listeners. If I were going to rewrite this, which I'm not going to do, but if I were, I would probably put lively listeners first. We were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We can't really communicate well unless we listen first to what other people have to say. And that listening, by the way, isn't just with your ears. It's also listening with the heart and building empathy for the people with whom you are discussing things. But all the other stuff, these are all things that you will be trying on. Orators, we're going to be reciting poems and speeches and practicing those to build our public speaking skills. Civil discussions will happen every week with something called the Touchstones Discussion Project, and the rest of these we will get to through many different dialogical, that means through dialogue, methods of teaching. So then we come down to readers. What am I looking for in terms of you as being readers? Well, one thing is independent readers. Certainly, this is something the district has pushed, and I'm going to give us time to get into that. I want you to be a conceptual learner, someone who's not just interested in discrete facts, but who is more interested in what are the nodes on the web of knowledge? What are the concepts that really organize those facts? So, for instance, when we study Othello, I'm not just going to talk about Elizabethan England. I'm not going to talk about the history behind Othello. What I want to talk about is how that play can be looked at through the conceptual lenses of power, control, and the truth. Those are eternal human issues, and everything else connects to them. So I like to go deep into conceptual thinking. I want you to be competent connectors, annotators, people who write back to the texts and who have discussions with other people who are writing back to the text. Because talking to the text is one of the things that if you're looking to go on to college or even just to learn for yourself, you've got to have a conversation with the words on the page. They are not just static. You create the meaning through interaction with them. I want you to be critical questionnaires, not just questioners, questionnaires. Questionnaires is a portmanteau. That's a word I've created by taking two words and jamming them together. And a questionnaire combines questioner with engineer. Engineers are all about systems and building systems that help us perform things better. Questions can be engineered to create a system of inquiry which helps us learn even more. So we're going to work at being critical questionnaires, and you are going to be doing most of the questioning. Meaning miners and craft inquisitors. So a craft inquisitor is somebody who looks at, how did the writer do that? How did that happen to me as a reader? And how can I use some of that technique? So let's go to writing then. I want you to be free writers, people who can write for a specific amount of time and never stop. Free writing is something I started in 11th grade and I've never stopped since, which is not to say that I'm writing now, but anyway. I want you to be explorers, that is people who write to learn and who write to think. And we'll do that through many different genres of writing. I want you to be poetic probers, not poets, but I want you to try on looking at the world through the mind of a poet. Because poets ask the same question about the world as scientists do. It's just that poets have a different way of searching for answers. Finally, fantastic feedbackers. We are going to do a lot of writing. It's probably the thing that we will do most during the course of a week, because when we write, what we do is we take this abstract thing that Shakespeare called airy nothingness, our thoughts, and we manifest them into the real world, which is we give them, as Shakespeare also said, a local habitation and a name. That is, we give them a place to be, either digitally on the screen or by hand on the page, and we name things. We bring them into the real world. So thought manifest into the real world, you are creating an artifact, and those artifacts are important. The other thing I want you to be is creators. I want you to be designers, writers, who work through a poetic sensibility, which is a way of looking at the world as I just explained. I want you to be speakers and presenters, and I want you to, more importantly, be purposeful producers. That is, the work that you create in this class ought to have purpose. And the purpose can't just be, I'm doing this to get a grade in Mr. Heidt's class, because as you will learn, I run a gradeless classroom. So it's not about the grade. It is about the learning. Okay, just because grades disappear doesn't mean that learning disappears. But when I say purposeful producer, what I really want you to understand is that when we learn with purpose, or we use what's called purpose-based learning, what we are doing is discovering and learning something that satisfies a personal need, but also affects a larger community. Whether that community is your family, your friends, the community of this classroom, or hopefully an even wider community, especially when we get to what I call our purpose projects. you've got to be purposeful, because purpose provides relevance, it makes things real, and it's authentic. And again, coming back to community, when you are working purposefully, you are affecting a larger community. And that then really addresses the two basic questions that I have that drive me as a learner, that have driven my work as a teacher for close to 20 years. And those questions are, why are things the way they are? And how can we make them better? Not only for ourselves, but for everyone.